Whoa. Oh. Little itty bitty bun just sitting and started singing when it was fine.
We're just starting with a bad acapella group. Everybody.
We're gonna be called the Juicy Fruits.
Gentlemen prefer juicy fruits.
Do they?
I don't know.
I mean, I think everybody prefers like extra or 5 probably.
I actually loved juicy fruit as a kid.
It only lasts for like 3 seconds.
That's
though.
true, but that's why you just eat the whole pack at once.
You just go. Oh,
You're just like,
That's what I used to do with like the, like the bubble wrap, whatever, like the bubble tape.
Hubba Bubba.
bubble tape from Hubba Bubba. You just like it's like a little hockey puck. And you're just like.
I would not do that.
Kids from the 90s know what
I'm a kid from the 90s and I did not do that.
You're a
I
kid
have
from
no
the
idea what you're
90s?
talking about. Yes.
From the 90s?
The 90. As a single entity. So today we're talking about Phantom of the Paradise, but first we're going to go over some hot topics in the entertainment world. If you're just listening right now to that ASMR, just know you can see what's happening on our YouTube channel, Gentlemen Prefer Cinephiles. And if you hate the set, we're getting a new one in after October.
Erin's only mentioning this because she hates the set.
Oh, I hate the set, but it's fine. We're just gonna learn and grow.
It was used. It was made using scraps. So
True.
I don't expect much out of our set. No.
It's scrappy. It's young, scrappy, and hungry, and we're not throwing away our shot.
It's a trooper.
Yeah. So, what is your current event, Charlie?
Well, I have it saved right here on my phone. Whoa. It says John Carpenter contemplates directing, but says that the 2 most important things in his life are video games and the NBA. Which is,
I wouldn't think of the NBA. But it makes sense the longer I think about it,
It seems to me that, he's just sort of like, maybe I'll direct, maybe I won't, but I think it sounds like he's really enjoying his retirement.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just, I don't know, playing probably like The Last of Us or something. Playing Overwatch. And
he just plays GTA Online.
Watching basketball.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's it.
Basketball.
Come on and slam it, and welcome to the jam.
We're just gonna acapella you the whole entire episode. Is everybody ready?
We're gonna get sued by somebody. So yeah, I just thought that was entertaining.
Mm-hmm. So my current event is that the Sabrina the Teenage Witch is being rebooted by Netflix.
I should have in the trailer.
But my thing is, one, the trailer was a little too quirky for me, which is fine. Like, sometimes the quirky is good. But my thing is, it's so tonally different than the original show. Why even market it as Sabrina the Teenage Witch? Why not just make a show about a teenage witch that's not Sabrina?
I like it. I like that they're doing something different.
I'm like, do something different with a different intellectual property.
But there's like a lot of potential to the Sabrina brand, Erynn.
I guess.
Like a teenage witch that's got a talking cat and kooky ants. I want more of that in my life.
We can't reinvent it in any other way.
I mean, this is the Riverdale people we're talking about.
Oh my god,
so.
it's the Riverdale people?
Yeah, it's produced by people who did Riverdale. But it's a Netflix show, and it's called the chaotic...
Cookie Times
no, wait,
of Sabrina.
What is it? The something adventures of Sabrina.
The Chilling Adventures.
The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina.
And I'm like, you could have just made the Chilling Adventures of any other teenage girl that happens to be a witch too.
Yeah, but it's Sabrina. That's what makes it interesting.
There's no reason it needs to be Sabrina.
Well, because they're taking that whole like squeaky clean like
it's just the same problem I have with reboots.
Sitcom aesthetic
and
making it into something dark and weird. And at the very least, it's really weird looking.
This is I'm fine with reboots. I'm not a huge hater of reboots, but this is the one type of reboot that just makes me so annoyed. It's when literally the rebooted franchise has nothing to do with the original, and it's so new that it literally could just be its own thing. It just doesn't make any sense.
So you'd rather they just make a show that was like the original. Why?
I'd rather they just make... Well, it's not like the original. That's the point.
Yeah.
It's tonally different.
Yeah.
It has, like, honestly, the characters could be swapped out for other characters. Like, I'm sure there are writers out there that have stories about teenage witches that could have been used instead of rebooting Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
You see, my whole thing is that I would rather them do this than do, like, a Fuller House situation.
Well, also, the producers of Riverdale ruined my what I loved. They didn't ruin it.
You could still go back and read Archie.
But, so I'm not very hopeful.
I think Riverdale's really bad, but I'm somewhat interested to see what they'll do with Sabrina.
I'm not excited, and I'm not going to watch it unless I'm forced.
I am going to watch it, and it's only because I like spooky, fun magic.
How do you feel down below?
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 How does Sabrina, the new series being rebooted, how does that make you feel down below?
Turn and cough.
Let us know how you feel about the Sabrina the Teenage Witch being rebooted. If you're listening to us, come to our YouTube channel and leave a comment there.
Man, I wonder if in that show, since there's witches, they'll ever have to deal with ghosts, or maybe even specters, or maybe even phantoms. Speaking of which, we're talking about Phantom of the Paradise. Segway.
It's very good. It's a very good movie.
It's one of my favorites.
Good. Spoiler alert, Charlie and I both really love it.
Wait.
Where are you going?
Wait. Keep talking. Do the patter. Do it.
Riverdale ruined Archie comics. Just kidding. I actually really love Madeline Pesh, and I think the aesthetic is fine. It's just like, why make a gritty teenage thing that's rebooting
It's better than nothing.
old thing? Like what? Like why do that? Why not just make a new original thing?
Wait.
Oh, hello, Charlie, you're back.
Oh. Wait, what?
If you're listening to us on our pod, if you're listening to us on like an app of some sort, Charlie has his like little work uniform.
As you can see,
his favorite movie is listed as Phantom of the Paradise on it.
Okay.
Because he's not a manager, so he can put R-rated movie.
I know some of the managers have R-rated.
That's so funny. What managers? What are the R-rated movies though? Is it like Shawshank?
No, but my friend Thomas at work does have that.
That's pretty funny.
Every time I see it,
Shawshank
I think of that.
is the best movie.
Shawshank's the best movie. I mean, I like Shawshank, but yeah, I mean, they're a little bit looser about that stuff now, and some of them they do R-rated movies that people don't know are R-rated, like stuff that they want to look up.
Now, I, from the moment I saw Phantom of the Paradise, like, I knew I was going to like it when the whole Faust things came into play.
Oh.
Because I think it's really interesting. One of the most interesting things to Phantom of the Paradise to me is there's so many, it's like so thickly layered with allusions to other things, but it still manages to be very original. And I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, I think the first time I watched this, I watched it by myself. Like, I remember because I got it for a Christmas, probably like 2 years ago.
It was 8
almost.
years ago.
Well, like, 2 years ago in like 2 months.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, I was always really interested in this movie because, people talked about it sort of being like a glam rock opera. And, I don't know, I didn't really know all that much about it. And then when I saw it, it was everything I ever wanted and more. Yeah,
I mean, it's just so well done. Like, everyone embodies their characters in a very perfect sort of way. Like, a high point for me has always been Paul Williams. Because the first time I saw Phantom of the Paradise, Charlie showed me who Paul Williams was. And it was that cute little old-fashioned love song on the Muppets. And then I had to just turn around and immediately see him just be a terrible piece of garbage.
Yeah,
like,
he's really good.
He's really good. He plays the character really well, and it's just really interesting how there's so many twists and turns with Phantom of the Paradise. I think it's very well done.
All right. Well, let's start with the basics. So this, for people who don't know what it is, I'm sure there are some who do because we all grew up on the internet, so we know lots of stuff now. But it was directed and written by Brian De Palma, who's very famous for Scarface and Carrie.
He is one of the... Well, he kind of came a little before the crop of, like, the big movie makers who all started going to film schools. He came a little before them, but...
He was in their class.
I know, but, like, people don't necessarily cite him all the time. Because he graduated a little bit before they did.
He made Dionysus of 69.
Which is wild.
And then he made something about lesbian witches or something.
He made a Black Dahlia movie.
That was in 2005.
In 2005? Yeah, but he still made it.
I was just going chronologically before Phantom of the Paradise.
I was like, what do you want? He made the Black Dahlia.
Yeah, but this is the one that he made before Carrie, which was this big breakout hit. Phantom of the Paradise did not make, like, any money at all.
And also, like, in terms of, like, cult success, like, Rocky Horror Picture Show came out the year before? Same year?
Year after.
It came out the year after, and it kind of took the wave. It rode the wave a little stronger than Phantom of the Paradise.
Which is weird, because I think Phantom of the Paradise is a roundly, like, better movie.
I love Rocky Horror, but Rocky Horror feels like... I think Rocky Horror, it makes sense how it's kind of developed the way it has, because for me, Rocky Horror feels a little bit more rooted in theatrical techniques in theater as opposed to Phantom of the Paradise. So it makes sense how, like, it's taken off in its cult status. It's like, oh, you go see it in a theater while people are performing it at the same time as the movie. It's like a theatrical thing. Like, so that makes sense to me why Rocky Horror is kind of like that. But Phantom of the Paradise, it just feels like, I don't know. It feels very well-rounded in a way that I wouldn't... Like, because, I mean, like, part of the point of cult movies is that they're not, like, necessarily, like, the best technically.
Well, I don't think that's a part of them being cult movies.
Like, well, it's just kind of like a trend you see with cult movies.
Okay.
But Phantom of the Paradise, I would say, isn't... I don't know, it feels like a very full movie to me in a way that doesn't remind me of a cult movie.
Yeah.
You know? Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
Mm.
Anyway, what are your feelings about it?
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting the way that it kind of, it doesn't really, like, openly say its themes like some movies, where it would just be like, hey guys, violence is bad, and maybe celebrity culture isn't very good,
Maybe
and blah blah blah.
The world is blind. Love is blind, that's what he says.
Love is
blind.
Instead, it's just sort of like, there's so much going on in it as far as, like, the sort of postmodern technique it uses for storytelling that it doesn't really, like, immediately tell you exactly where it's going. But it's also the type of movie that it, like, the story builds and it's fun and it's very comic booky and pulpy, and it's sort of, the story goes along in this way that sometimes is unexpected, but you're just sort of, like, along with these characters, and then, like, the last quarter of the movie is just a fever dream acid trip that is just like a nightmare.
It reminds me of a lot of Day of the Locust.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like suddenly, like, something gets loose, and then like the cap on the thing gets loose and it all just spills out at the end, and you're just like, oh my god, what's happening?
Well, and I think the way it, like, makes commentary on the entertainment industry is very interesting, because it's so thickly satirical that, like, it doesn't feel preachy in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. You know? Like, like, there's only, like, there's not even, like, any line I could particularly think of that, like, really, like you said, calls attention to how, like, it's a critique of the entertainment industry. It just kind of washes over you and lets you process through it yourself.
Well, like, so, a problem with a lot of, like, socially critical movies a lot of the times is that they focus too much on bad individuals and not, like, the system that perpetrates bad things. Like, say, for instance, like Crash with racism. It's always about, like, these few people that are just kind of shitty. Yeah. As opposed to, like, the whole huge history of social, you know, ostracization.
Yeah. And in you're saying in Phantom of the Paradise, it, like, all the characters are individual in that way where they show off, like, shitty people, but it doesn't feel like that's the only problem.
Well, I feel like it's much more well-rounded than that. Like, you could, like, even though the character of, say, like, Philbin is disgusting and he's like a rapist and stuff like that. At the same time, he's kind of funny, and at a few different points, he's actually kind of like feels a little like innocent in some ways. Like where it's like when he's like Swan's like, you're gonna be the priest, and he's like, oh man, I've never been a priest before. He's all like kind of
all the characters feel like real.
Yeah,
they don't feel like they don't feel like I guess
they're multifaceted.
Yeah, they're multifaceted. They don't feel all terrible. Like it. I'm trying to think of like an example of a character that's like all terrible.
Like Nosferatu.
Should I like Nosferatu? Well, the first one I thought of was No Country for Old Men, but like that just doesn't really work because like I see him being like such an evil character as like a microcosm. I don't know. I don't.
The Joker.
It's like a big problem. Yeah, like the Batman Suicide Squad Joker.
Oh, I was talking about the.
You were talking about the Heath Ledger Joker?
Yeah, because he's like an agent of chaos.
You want all
or whatever.
5 of our listeners to leave? No, I'm just kidding.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing to have characters that are all evil. Like in the first Star Wars movie, Darth Vader doesn't have any multifacetedness.
Even Swan, though, like I mean, there's like a catch to him being like a really evil character because I mean he's a very vain person. He's very controlling and manipulative. But at the same time, like, when it cuts down to it, he's just a person under contract from the system itself. Like, and he's, like, a victim of the system in the same way as, like, Winslow's character is. Which is really interesting to discuss in terms of these negative characters. Because sometimes it feels like negative characters are like, oh, if you get this...
If you take this guy out, then all the problems go away.
Yeah. If you take this thing out of the equation, it's fake. Like, that's not necessarily true. And so it's really interesting how, like, there are all these layers to it.
Even Winslow himself isn't, like perfect, he's our hero, but he's got... They show very early on that he's got, like, some
deeply
really...
egotistical...
Some weird anger issues
stuff
like that.
He's like a narcissist in the way where it's like he's so deeply insecure that he's narcissistic. That's how I view him.
I feel like, I mean, I like Winslow at the beginning, but to me the turning point is when he decides to just start, like, belligerently killing people after he's been deformed and everything. Like, to me, that's sort of the turning point. Like, to me, it's not, like, I don't see problems with Winslow's personality as much, except for when he almost throws Philbin out the window at the beginning. When he's, because, like, that's really, his problem is just, like, it's a call from our sponsors.
All zero.
Who's that?
It's Vince.
Oh.
Head batch. We're recording a podcast.
Special guest star Vince. Hey, Erynn.
Hey, sorry about that. I had an actor problem.
Let's talk about the music of Phantom of the Paradise.
The music is honestly such a high point for me in Phantom of the Paradise. The album is so well done. But I think that's like, I mean, Paul Williams is, like, I think just like music gold. So, you know. I don't think, like, there was never a point in time where I thought it would be bad.
Yeah.
Because I've always liked his songwriting and his stuff, so, like, I knew it was going to be really good. But I think the way the music kind of plays off of the narrative and, like, really feeds into the themes without... Well, I mean, like it gives things away, but in a way that makes you reflect as opposed to like, oh, I know the whole movie now, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it the thing that stands out as the strongest part to me, like, as far as an album goes, it's amazing, and it's, like, very well written as far as Paul Williams is concerned, but the most impressive thing to me is the way that it actually plays with this sort of, I don't know, not leitmotifs, but, like, it, as far as being a part of the narrative goes, it's like you have the original Faust song that's by Winslow in the movie, and then when they play Upholstery, which is the Beach Boys parody song that is supposed to be stolen from that, there are lyrics that are the same from the Faust song, as well as similar chord progression. So it really does feel like the song is like another version of the other song, and they do that with Somebody Super Like You and the one with Beef, you know.
Life at Last?
Life at Last. Life at Last is like a lot like the song that Beef sings earlier that's supposed to be written for Phoenix.
Yeah.
And like what you were saying about how it's sort of sometimes the songs are a commentary on the plot. It's like with Phoenix's song that she sings in the middle of the movie for the audition, she's singing the lyrics, but it's actually like interesting because it's Winslow's lyrics that are about her, where it's like the whole song's about like questioning somebody's ambition, like, you know, how much is enough and all this sort of thing. And like her whole arc is about being seduced by like the fame and not like seeing what's going on really, I guess. So it's like the song kind of ties into that.
I mean, we had somebody who, like, we used to know who described her as like being bratty.
I don't care.
Or something like that. But I think her character's far more multi-dimensional, and that was very aggressive.
I don't care what anybody has to say if it's
but
bad.
I think that interpretation is, like, far more... Sorry, it's like, why are you so angry right now?
It's like, I mean...
I just think her character's far more multi-dimensional than somebody being seduced by fame.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting how, like, her relationship to her art, like, singing is so important to her that she's willing to give everything up for that.
Yeah.
So I think it's a little bit deeper in passion than just being seduced by fame, because I think she's juxtaposed really well with all the other people who function within Swan's whole.
I agree, but like the flaw is that she doesn't know like when to give it up because she enjoys the fame so much. Like when they're on the rooftop and she says, you know, listen to them cheering. Like, how could I turn that down? You know, it's like, you know, a strong part of it is still that like she just wants that sort of thing, regardless of what it costs. Because, you know, Beef just died the last scene, and they're all like bloodthirsty.
Well, I mean, I'm not trying to get like nitty gritty, but I've never seen her conflict as her being seduced by fame. I think in the kind of area she wants to be successful in, fame is a byproduct of success. So I see it as her wanting people to connect with her art, and that being the reason why. I still see her as like more of a like connected to her art specifically.
I'm not saying that she's not connected to her art. I'm just saying that like the flaw that she needs to like that's like why, you know, she needs like the character growth is because that's a part of it as well.
I'm not convinced, but okay.
All right.
I appreciate that interpretation.
Fantastic. I think all the characters are amazing.
Honestly, I agree. I love Beef.
Yeah.
Beef is my favorite. Oh my god.
Beef's great.
I just love all of Beef's like one-liners. They're just 10 out of 10. I remember the last time we watched Phantom of the Paradise, there's a scene, he's arguing with Philbin, and Philbin was like pushed up to the thing, and he's like, I know what it is. He's like, you want to know what it is? It's speed. And then he's like, he tries to give him a downer, and he just goes, nah, that'll bring me down. And I just remember, in like the anticipation of that joke, I was like laughing so hard, I was just like crying, and it was just, I just love all those little moments in Phantom of the Paradise.
Yeah.
Also, one thing in particular that is amazing about it is the blocking. Like, the blocking with all the extras in relation to, like, what's going on. There's so much, like, in frame happening at one point in time that you could watch the film 30 times and probably notice something new each and every time. It's just, like, they're just such funny little things going on in the background that make the world feel really real and believed.
Yeah.
Like, lived in.
They have the actors from Dionysus of 69 as the front row crowd for the shows. So by the end, those actors have given such strong characterization to the like individual like fan characters. Like there's the guy with like the mop top in like the Hawaiian shirt, and there's that woman in like the sort of white jumpsuit and stuff, and like they sort of become a part of the whole narrative about violence at the end, where they're like they're like some of the people that come up and they all kind of stab Swan together because they see Winslow do it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting the way that they sort of like bring that all around, especially with like the very last shot of the movie where, you know, it pulls up to that like crane shot over everything, and there's like the guy with the Hawaiian shirt again, and his shirt's all bloody, and he's like taking off his shirt and like wiping it on this girl's face, and she's all into it, and he like throws the shirt in the air because they're all just kind of like, why is everybody stop dancing? Why is this girl crying about this Phantom guy? Let's keep dancing.
Yeah. Well, also, I think it's also really interesting because it's really, like, telling that in groups like that, like, you're more alone than if you were by yourself.
I guess so. I think it does have a lot to do with sort of, like, the idea of, like, when you're in a group...
Like in, like, groupthink, it's really...
Yeah, exactly. Groupthink, yeah. It's like, it's like very sociological the way that the audience in the movie is portrayed, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else would you like to discuss? To end on a fun fact, I suppose. Paul Williams is in Baby Driver.
Yeah.
And he's the villain in Baby Driver, and the reason him and Edgar Wright talked was because of this movie.
Yeah. And he also became friends with Guillermo del Toro and Daft Punk. Daft Punk.
Oh yeah, they did a song together. Yeah.
They, the two members of Daft Punk, Guy blah blah blah, and the other guy, the robot guys, they met in a screening of Phantom of the Paradise because it was
nice.
it was big in one city in Canada and it was semi-successful in France, and they were in France, but they went to go see it together like 20 times or something like that.
My goodness.
And that's where they met, and then they became friends, and then eventually they became Daft Punk.
That's the cutest thing ever.
And that's also why they wear the helmets, is because Winslow wears a helmet in this.
Yeah.
And so then they did, for Random Access Memories, they had Paul Williams feature on a song. And it says it featuring Paul Williams, but what it really is they wanted Paul Williams to write a song for them. And it sort of ties in, so, like, For the Hell of It is the last song on the thing. And it's kind of like Winslow mocking Swan from like, Beyond the Grave. To me, Touch by Daft Punk and Paul Williams it feels like a continuation of the character to me. Like the Phantom character that... Well, Paul Williams does the voice of the songs for when the Phantom has like the voice thing. So, like, the song Touch... It goes into a lot of like similar themes as Phantom of the Paradise, and it's like a very, very Paul Williams song. At a certain point, it all just like goes into him just playing the piano, like in that Paul Williamsy way with like the little horns coming in and all that sort of thing. I'm like, God, this is just a Paul Williams song, and I love it.
Well, yeah. So go see Phantom of the Paradise. It's got Phantom of the Opera. It's got Dionysus '69.
Faust.
It's got Faust. It's got Dorian Gray. It has really creepy voyeurism where you're screwing someone while watching somebody cry about you screwing someone.
It's a Brian De Palma film.
It's a crazy time. So you can find us at
GentlemenPreferCinephiles.net.
Gentlemen for Cinephiles podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and iTunes, and maybe the Google Store. And Instagram, Gentlemen Prefer Cinephiles, and you can hit us up for the or if you're listening to us, please check out our YouTube channel because we have a YouTube specific series called The Dailies where we go check out movies in theaters. And this week we're going to see A Simple Favor. No, this week we're going to see House with a Clock in its Walls.
Yes.
Next week we're going to see A Simple Favor.